My name is Patty Hartman. I am the chemistry lab manager at DeSales University in Center Valley, Pennsylvania. My job duties include responsibility for all of the chemistry, biochemistry, and physics labs at DeSales. That includes everything from lab preparation to chemical stockroom, purchasing, budgeting, and safety is one of my big things as well. It kind of all happened at just a really good time. We had been talking about for a couple years trying to find something that would allow us to standardize our safety training. No matter what the semester is or what the chemistry course is, the very first lab session that we have always includes a safety component. The problem with that, it's a good thing to do. We had pretty standardized, tour of the lab, and this is where all the safety equipment is and all that kind of stuff. But trying to get the meat of safety, how do you read an SDS sheet? How do you handle certain chemicals, things like that? Trying to standardize that over all of our full-time faculty, as well as the adjuncts that we use, that was a little trickier. So we had been trying to come up with something. We were trying to think if we could make a recording on our own or, what we could do. And then just so happened one of my colleagues got an email from ACS advertising the start of the general chemistry safety course. And she forwarded that to me and we looked into it, and it was kind of perfect for what we were looking for. Went ahead, checked it out, got some more information, and decided to give it a try. Well, we started the general chemistry in the fall of 22. So we've been through a few years with that now. And we just started the organic chemistry in fall of 23. And we do training with the general chemistry for all of our 100 level chemistry courses. So that would be, your hardcore science majors, chemists, biologists, biochemists. We have another 100 level course that's a little more watered down. That's for our sports and exercise physiology majors, who a lot of those will end up becoming PTs, different courses for nursing students. But pretty much anybody coming in at a entry-level chemistry course is getting the general chemistry. And then our second year students, anybody that's taking organic chemistry is getting the organic one that just came out. And in addition to that, we train all of our work studies, their first year working with both of those. Research students, if they haven't had the training yet in class, will have to do that. We also have a chemistry demonstrations program here that students participate in, and anybody that participates in that has to make sure they have the training. The implementation of all of that was easier than I was expecting. I'm not the most computer savvy person in the world. I can get around, but anytime I'm trying something new and it has to do with computers, I'm always a little bit nervous. But the implementation went really well. I worked with our IT, and IT worked with ACS if there were any issues. We did a switch over in our LIMS system in the last year. So we originally started out using Blackboard, and we are now on DL Brightspace. It's worked great with both of those. And students and faculty have really bought into the training. We haven't really had any resistance on the part of the students about doing it. So I think overall, pretty successful start for us. We're looking for some sort of consistency of training, that we could count on all courses, students being exposed to the exact same material in the exact same way. So from that perspective, we are very confident at this point that, all of our students are starting out with a good foundation once they take the online training. It also has taken a burden off of my shoulders as the lab manager, because and every single person that was teaching a lab, you're trying to stay in contact with them, make sure, are you covering this point? Are you covering that point? Here's your script. But you never really know 100% because you're not in there with them, if they're saying everything they need to be saying. So it's taken that burden off of me a little bit of trying to make, corral all of that stuff, because I know if their students have done the training that we should be good to go. Well, I have to say, we've always been big on safety here. I've been here 16 years, I think, at this point, and we've always had a strong safety program. I just feel like this has just enhanced it and given the students another reason to buy in. What I've found with students is that if they understand why they're being asked to do something and the reasons why, they're expected to follow certain policies in lab, as far as dress, as far as handling chemicals, whatever, they seem to buy in as long as they understand that there is, credibility to why we're having them do that. And I feel like this training just added another layer to that credibility. It's just implemented what we already had into a higher degree. The first thing I like about it is it's online. I think with the students that we're getting nowadays, especially since they all got used to online during the pandemic, they're comfortable with it. And it's nice that they can do it at their convenience, in their dorm room, in the library, wherever they choose. And, we don't have to try to accommodate everybody doing it at once in a laboratory. So the online portion is great. The fact that there are modules is also great. The students can sit down, and if they want to, they can do the entire training in one sitting, but they can also stop after any module that they choose, walk away from it and come back later and just pick right up again with the next module and continue on. I also like, from my perspective, that it's progressive. They can't move on to module 2 until they have completely finished module 1. So it kind of polices them to a point where they have had to go through all the material to get to the end. I like that it's interactive for the students as well. They can't just sit there and kind of tune it out. There, every once in a while, questions pop up. They have to, interact and reply. And then I like the quiz at the end. As far as record keeping and training records go, it's nice to not only be able to show that they took the course, but also have that we can see that they passed the quiz. So those are my favorite things. They definitely also like the online, the ability to be able to work on it when they want to. They definitely like the fact that they don't have to sit for the entire thing at once. They also have mentioned that they like the interactive feature of it. And they do like the fact that we've been handling it as a pass fail. So as long as they go through and cover everything. So it kind of takes away that test anxiety, if you want to call it that. But they're happy that they can prove that they've mastered the material, but without having the pressure of accounting as like an actual grade. I'd say we found that at this point, I think all of my colleagues would agree the investment has definitely been worth it. Another thing I can say is the burden of monitoring the whole thing. Like a lot of times faculty would say, well, oh, that's just one more thing I'm going to have to worry about now. I've got to keep tabs on my students and make sure that they all complete this training. The way we've implemented it is I am the one, like the central person for the training. So I will have access to the laboratory portion of each course that I can, see what students are in there, see what progress they're making on the training, and see when they've completed it. And where it goes back to the teacher is if we have a student who, always going to have a couple non-compliant students who you're going to have to kind of bug a little bit to get them to finish it. That's where I would go back to the student, to the teachers, and have them contact their students. Usually once the teacher contacts the student once they finish, but that's better than them having to worry about the entire burden on themselves. Now, I mean, some schools may choose to do that differently, but that has worked well for us. And I think that's helped the faculty buy-in. What we've chosen to do, you don't have to train all of your students at one time. So you don't have to spend the money to go through all 4 years of training for all of your science students. We've chosen to start with the 100 level courses as freshmen usually. So we do that every year. By the time we get through 4 years, now we've got everybody has had the general chemistry training. And then second year is usually when they take the organic chemistry. And so anybody that's gone through that course has had that aspect of the training as well. So, it's pretty much makes it a fixed cost on a yearly basis. And it's if you're willing to wait to do, the complete rollout until you can get through 4 classes of students, then you can save a little bit of money doing it that way. I've never heard anybody here complain that the cost was prohibitive or that it wasn't worth the investment. Everyone has seemed really happy with the way it's turned out for us. I believe we've always had a pretty strong program in place. The ACS courses obviously have enhanced that, but we're still always moving forward, looking for unique ways that we can expose our students to different aspects of safety and just give them more exposure to being safe when you're working in the lab. I mean, it's a skill that the students are going to use, whether they go into industry, whether they go into grad school, whether they go into med school or dental school or something. It's going to benefit all of them. The one thing that we have thought about doing a little bit more of now that we're getting this training in is maybe adding a little bit more at the beginning of each lab when we're doing the pre-labs, maybe actually pull out a couple more of the SDS sheets, for instance, because now they've learned how to read them without us having to do a whole lot of training. So maybe just start to implement a little bit more of that stuff rather than just having them see the labels with the information. We can reinforce that a little bit with some of the other things that they've been taught how to use. I think our IT would agree that it's been excellent. They had a smooth transition on their end, working to get everything loaded and ready to roll. And then it's been really seamless too on the end from IT going into faculty and staff to get used to using the whole program. I mean, it's the integration into the learning system, whether it's been Blackboard or whether it's Brightspace, has gone really well. I would say probably 99.9% of the students have had no problems getting things to work. I was way more fearful than I needed to be at the start. I think the whole thing in general, I applaud ACS, first of all, for being proactive as far as seeing a need for something like this and working to get it out there. Because, like I said, we looked and there really wasn't anything quite like this. So kudos on that. Hopefully, the word will get out there and more and more schools will buy into it. I'm also just interested to see as we go down the road a little bit more what else might come out as far as different trainings go. So, but definitely it's been a win for us.